Thanks for tuning in to the Diaphragm Dynasty. I'm back with another behind the pen edition of my podcast. And today I will be covering Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. Now, this is the first time covering a songwriting duo. I will be covering the Underdogs pretty soon, another great duo, songwriting duo. But this duo specifically has given us so many hits that you probably didn't even realize. A lot of contributions to the genre and very productive as well, going all the way from 1982 all the way to 2015. They've given us so many hits, so many different contributions to soundtracks and great artists that we love. And I'll get into those in a little bit. Well, I'll get into them now. Actually, they've given us songs written from the SOS Band, New Edition, Usher, Mary J. Blige, even Jessica Simpson, and a lot of contributions from, well, two that they gave to Janet Jackson. So, and I'll get into those in a little bit, but their contributions are not highlighted as much because they don't do a lot of interviews. They're not in the media as much. And they were during a time where songwriters were definitely in the background and they didn't really make it to the forefront as much. They were writing hits and, just, getting out the way. Um, More so now, you're more familiar with the songwriters because they have converted into singers. So, whether it be a Carrie Hilson, uh, Money Long, Miguel, artists that started off as songwriters, Neo, The Dream, artists that started off as songwriters and became solo artists and became um, household names, so to speak. You really didn't have that as much back then. You had artists like Babyface and things like that, but you didn't have mostly songwriters that transitioned to solo careers as much. Most of the time, it was people who I don't want to say couldn't sing, but didn't really have a eye for the spotlight as they do now. And this is what, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, their formula was, or their persona. They were mostly in the background. Most people don't even know what they look like because every time I see them, they had a suit on and they had hats. So they were very in tune, especially as songwriters. And then I'll get into some of their songs here right now. So some of the songs that they've written that you probably didn't know. New Editions, Can You Stand the Rain? Classic song that everyone knows. Janet Jackson's Rhythm Nation, very classic hit for her. They contributed a lot to her as well. Ralph Tresvant's Sensitivity. Karen Willis, Adore You from the Mo Money soundtrack. Ralph Tresvant's Money Can't Buy You Love, which is also from the Mo Money soundtrack. Janet Jackson's That's the Way Love Goes. Boys the Men on Bended Knees. New Edition, I'm Still in Love with You, which is probably one of my favorite New Edition songs. Shantae Moore, which I forgot about Shantae Moore, bringing back a lot of memories being a kid. Shantae's Got a Man, Mary J. Blige, No More Drama. So they heavily contributed to the careers of Janet Jackson, Ralph Tresvant, Johnny Gill, Usher, and so many other artists. Now, if you take away Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis's contributions to Janet Jackson, she might not even have a catalog because we know that they pretty much wrote the entire Rhythm Nation and the self-titled Janet that she had, and also that 20-year-old album that she had commemorating the 20 years that she was in the, as a solo artist. So they've contributed heavily, and then Usher as well to, the Confessions album, their contributions to How Stella Got a Groove Back, talking about taking it back there. I forgot about that movie with Angela Bassett and Taye Diggs when Taye Diggs was young in his career. Um, Classic movie, but they contributed, pretty much wrote the entire soundtrack for that and that Mo Money soundtrack as well. So they've been very productive as songwriters, and they gave us a lot of hits that a lot of people don't know. And that's the true gift of being a songwriter or a producer, as a lot of people won't know your music, but they won't know that you did the music, but they know your music. So that's a gift to see, to be in a party or be driving and somebody's bumping your music that you help create, whether it be the production or the song lyrics, but people don't know it as you. That's your words, so that's your music that you put out to the world. So that's a gift that you have. And it's not really necessarily a curse because you don't have all the distractions that come with it. Maybe the lawsuits that people get in the spotlight or the negative press that people get in the spotlight. Even if you wrote the words and somebody else sings it, the singer's going to get, get the brunt of the bad press from it. So if you write something about an ex, they're gonna say, "Oh, look what Usher said on his last song about his ex," but he didn't write those words; he just sung them. But you get to escape that criticism, and it's really a pure gift of songwriting and production as well. So you do have that gift that you have in that way. But the songs that Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis have fed families for years, and I remember well, I don't remember it, but looking back at Ralph Tresvant's solo career away from New Edition, he contributed heavily or pretty much a large portion. I think it was 40% of his solo album because I think he had 10 songs and Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis wrote four of those songs on the album, and I believe produced as well. But they contributed heavy and helped, Ralph Tresvant's career, especially away from New Edition, to solidify him as a solo artist. Not just rely upon the group, but just having that solo piece in your life. But these are fantastic writers who don't get much acclaim because most writers don't get the acclaim unless you have that solo career, like I talked about with Neo and The Dream and others. But, you know, nevertheless, writers that should be in the Songwriter Hall of Fame, if they're not already, um, definitely check out their music if you haven't listened to it. But as always, until next time, I'll see you next time.